Good morning.
Or whatever time it is, wherever in the world you're listening to us.
Yes, so let me change that around
Okay.
because you're right. It's not morning, is it? It is morning, but maybe it's not. Is it morning?
Maybe you're watching this at night under the covers in your bed.
Ooh, yummy.
Take us to bed with you.
Ooh. How is your New Year's resolution to eat better going? Here we are most of the way through the month of January, and many of us, as we usually do, make resolutions. And maybe one of your resolutions was to eat better. Well, how about eating better to support your sex life? That's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, because you can do that. In fact, you should do that. Or maybe I shouldn't put a should on somebody.
There are benefits to doing that. How's that?
There are.
Yes.
Some great benefits.
We are the sexagenarian sages.
And we are here to bust the myths of sex and aging.
You've been reading a pretty interesting book lately.
I have. We had the opportunity back in November. We went to the Rochester Erotic Arts Festival, and one of the speakers was Christine Delosier, who has written a book recently. It's called Diet for Great Sex. And she's done a lot of research around what foods are actually good for increasing your arousal level, keeping you healthy in a way that makes it so that your sex life is better.
And this is something we've been interested in for a while, and we've been going to various sources and learning things and changing our diet in such a way to help us as we grow older, especially.
Yep, we did a little work with the Jing Slingers a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now you've got me hungry for their Jing Slinger chocolate cake. I may have to make some of that.
All right, well, so what do we mean when we talk about a diet for great sex or eating for sex? How can it really help us? I mean, what's this all about? Well, for those of you who are older, you have probably been eating a lot of food your whole life long that has been, kind of borderline healthy. And you know it. We all know it. We all eat too much saturated fat, too much salt, too much sugar, all the things that are in excess, bad for our bodies.
And I want to point out, you said in excess. We're not saying that you can't eat those things, but it's the idea of looking at how your consumption of those things is affecting your body.
Right. Think of how many times a week on the way to work you've had breakfast at the convenience mart, or you've popped into a swell food place for lunch, and instead of getting something that might be mildly healthy, instead you're going for the high-fat quickie burger and overcooked fries, that kind of thing.
Or popping into the coffee shop, and instead of just getting coffee, getting one of these ones with all the extra syrup and the cream, and boy, they do taste good. Yeah. And once in a while, as a treat, they are good.
And then you add in the healthy bran muffin, which is probably 700 calories on its own, with the 700 calorie coffee you just ordered.
And you've got all the nice sugar sprinkled on top of the healthy muffin.
Suddenly you've eaten a day's worth of calories. But it tasted so good, right? Well, you're right, it does taste good. But these things also affect your ability to have a satisfying sex life. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Great. I am going to pull out one of my little snacks.
Would you like me to hold that closer to the camera?
Oh, sure. Which is also something that can be very, very satisfying, tasty. You'll notice in there, I've got mixed greens, I've got pumpkin seeds, and I've got blueberries. I haven't put any dressing on it. I'm not a big dressing guy. I can do that. You want to watch what you're eating for a dressing, because it can often have a lot of sugar, salt, and saturated fat.
You know what I find satisfies my need for that creaminess?
What's that?
Avocado.
Ah,
Just slicing up an avocado and adding it on top of the salad satisfies that need for creaminess without all the oil, and the healthy fats in the avocado are actually good for you.
as well as some of the minerals and vitamins that it carries. So that's a quick snack. There aren't that many calories in this, and I'm getting zinc in the pumpkin seeds, which are great for my prostate. I'm getting a lot of antioxidants in the blueberries. You can use other berries if you want. You can use cherries, whatever, which add a little bit of sweetness, but it's a sweetness that comes with all the flavonoids, the polyphenols, the fiber, all the really nifty things that your body needs to be healthy for sex. And of course, the greens, and I'll go a little bit into greens too in a little bit.
You said the zinc is good for your prostate.
Mhm.
Does it help prevent the BPH? Why is it good for your prostate?
It's going to add to the health of your prostate by helping to control the symptoms of BPH, reduce some of the inflammation. Those pumpkin seeds are good for you. Okay, so I will discuss with you a little bit about what you can do now with your food to help improve your ability to have a satisfying sex life. And you don't need to be 60 years old to be hearing this. You young 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds who are still indestructible, you think, start adding on a lot of nerve damage, cardiovascular damage by eating poorly, so that by the time you get into your 40s and 50s and 60s, the damage is there, and it's going to take more work to repair it. Research has shown how quickly that damage gets done to the nerves and the cardiovascular system, even in teenagers. Eating healthier is going to promote two big things: better circulation and better nerve health. Why do you want that?
Yes, why do you want that? I was going to ask you. You didn't give me a chance to ask.
Well, of course, you're going to want better circulation, because that circulation, guys, is what gives you an erection. You've got to have a good cardiovascular system to keep that erection going. And in many men who are in their 40s and are having ED problems, it's actually kind of the canary in the coal mine. They've got cardiovascular problems going on. Those extremities, the fingers, the toes, the cock, all of those things start to have impaired circulation as it develops in your body. So if you can keep your circulation good, it's going to help promote a better erection. Blood. Not only is it good for your erection, it's good for lubricating the vagina. That blood flowing as you become aroused actually increases the lubrication of the vagina.
And as they move into menopause, that blood flowing is going to keep those tissues healthy and plump. One of the things that happens often with menopause is there is some thinning of the tissues of the vagina. The more blood that's flowing in there, the less thinning you're going to have.
They'll be healthier. Great. Cool. Now, turn on. What does all of this eating have to do with turn on? Turn on is where your nervous system begins to release nitric oxide, NO. As you get turned on, that nitric oxide will flow in your body to create dilated blood vessels, which adds to the lubrication and the erection. And it's important for those processes to work well. Saturated fat, if you're putting that into your diet, it's going to decrease the ability for that nitric oxide to do its job, because the saturated fat is going to begin to start the process of building a plaque in your blood vessels, which acts as resistance to the circulation, making it so those erections and that lubrication are much harder to come by. Now, doesn't mean that fat's bad. PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids, are fine. In fact, they're an important essential fat in your body. So you want to be getting some of those. And you can look up online to what PUFAs, PUFAs really are and how to add them into your diet. There's just tons of ways. Olive oil is one great way for actually the MUFAs, the monounsaturated fatty acids, which are also an important fat to be getting in your body.
Thank you for, I was wondering when you said poofa, if you were doing a nifty sound effect.
It's great. I like saying those.
I noticed.
Now, another great source for these polyunsaturated fatty acids are nuts, seeds, like the pumpkin seeds I put over there in my salad, and fish. They're also great sources for omega-3s, which are also going to be good for your circulation. There's lots of other enzymes and hormone supporting nutrients in fish, in nuts, and in seeds. Add these into your food. It's easy to do that. They're tasty. They really are good for you. Now, your nerves. Obviously, you got to have nerves firing if you're going to have
Sensation.
great sex. You want that sensation.
Yep.
And the nerves are what will help have an erection. They are what help the clitoris become erect, become engorged, do its thing. The nerves are an important message carrier in the body so that everything does what it's supposed to do. It's the electrical system. Nerves that fire well will promote great sex. If they're not firing well, that's when little problems begin to develop. Now, research has shown, there's a lot of research, that mushrooms reduce nerve damage and can actually help to repair it.
I like mushrooms. Have you noticed that?
Yes. And this is something I've had to learn to like. It's not that I didn't like mushrooms, but I always used to think that they were kind of a useless little thing.
No nutrition to them at all.
Just fungus growing on the ground.
There's lots of nutrition in them.
And I've begun to learn how actually full of nutrition they are and how helpful they are for all of the body processes that go into arousal and good sex.
If I can just, for a moment here, I eat mushrooms. I eat sliced mushrooms on my salad, in my soups. I'll put them in lots of things, but I also use powdered mushroom supplements. I put those in my coffee in the morning. Ooh, mushrooms and coffee? There's no taste to them in that form. And it gives me that extra little boost I need for the nutrients that they have.
In fact, they're so good that Christine Delozier, in her book, has an entire chapter discussing mushrooms and the research that's gone into discovering what they actually do for the body. It's a great little chapter. Research has also shown that mushrooms treat infertility and can repair testicular damage. So if you're trying to get some breeding going, you want some kids, think of putting mushrooms into your diet. I've already talked a little bit about nitric oxide. Nitric oxide does a couple of big things. It's anti-inflammatory. Now, what that means is it's going to become easier for the blood vessels to dilate, to grow larger, so you have that circulation that you're looking for that great erection or for that lubrication. What are some good sources of nitric oxide? Because you can actually eat this, you can get it in your diet. Well, there's some okay sources. Cabbage. You like sauerkraut?
That's
Some
not
people
one of
don't like
mine.
sauerkraut. How about just plain old cooked cabbage or some coleslaw? You can put some cabbage into your diet. I know it's not everybody's thing. I love cabbage, but
Raw cabbage I love.
how about turnips? Dill. These are also okay sources for nitric oxide. What are some better sources? Swiss chard, endive, leeks, parsley and fennel.
So not all greens are equal. Some have more of some nutrients, some have more of others.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
And then finally, the great sources, these are going to be things like mixed lettuces, mixed greens, spinach, kale, beets, celery, radishes. These are the real high sources of nitric oxide. And to me, I love greens, cooked or raw.
I'm not a cooked green fan, I'm sorry. Although the little spinach omelets that you make me in the morning, those are good. Because the greens are cooked a little bit. I think my biggest thing is I'm so used to greens being overcooked.
Kind of all slimy, blah.
But I love my raw greens. So I eat my greens raw more than cooked. And yes, I understand that I might get more benefit from some of them if they were cooked.
From what I hear, research isn't necessarily clear on that.
Okay.
But add these things into your diet. They will give you the nitric oxide that will promote the proper firing of the nerves, will help the proper hormones to be working, help you to have arousal, help those blood vessels to dilate. It's worth having. Now, you're 65 years old, you're 70 years old, and you've been having some of these problems, you can start, such as erectile dysfunction, lack of lubrication. Maybe you could start putting these foods into your diet to help that. A little information here. I'm older. I have some difficulties a bit with my circulation. I've begun to add in a lot of the greens that Christine Delozier in her book has suggested, as well as mushrooms, to begin to get my circulation going better. Now, I'm a runner and have been a runner most of my life, but I'm starting to experience some difficulties. And since adding those, I will tell you that now I am noticing some better effects. I'm waking up with morning wood now. Do you know how many years it's been since there's been much occurrence of morning wood in my life? But it's there again. Give these foods a try in your New Year's resolution diet.
Yes, I'm going to eat better resolution. There's one thing that she touches on in there that you haven't touched on yet, and that's a lot of what we've been talking about are long-term effects. What about immediate effects like that high fat, high salt, alcohol, special dinner you have on date night when you're planning sex later? How does that affect your ability to have sex?
Really takes it down. However, and research has shown this, if you eat one of these nitric oxide rich diets on a date night, the nitric oxide in your body goes up almost immediately for 3 to 4 hours. Think natural Viagra here.
Mm-hmm.
And that higher nitric oxide makes it easier for you to get the erection, get the lubrication, your blood vessels dilate, things go much better. And there's actual research that she cites in the book that supports this.
So maybe you have a, let's just say, more healthy meal before sex, on date night when you're planning sex, and then you save the glass of wine and chocolate for afterwards.
Little dessert after dessert.
Yes, sounds good to me. Okay.
All right.
Do you have more you need to say?
I think that'll do it for today. Put this together with your exercising that we talked about in the previous video and put it in small amounts and let it grow during the year and increase your ability to have sex.
And if you're younger and you're watching this, start doing what you need to do now so that your body has less damage to repair as you get older. One of my things lately has been this assumption that our sex life has to end as we get older. There's so much we can do, and we're proof of that.
Yep.
Thank you for watching.
Oh,
What'd you forget?
hit the subscribe button.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Right. Bye.
Bye-bye.